Part 17. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 161. Chi Changjai looked at Lu Huajing strangely, and asked, "What do you mean by this? Is Tianlin continent completely blocked by Changxianmen?" Lu Huajing was stunned, and then reflected on his own cognition. It seems that in his consciousness, Tianlin continent really has only one way to go to Changxianmen through the teleportation array, but in such a continent, is there really only this way to the outside world? Chi Changjai took a deep look at him. It seems that although Lu Huajing has a high status in the Changxianmen, he may not know all the details of the Changxianmen. Maybe he doesn't know as much as the city lord Meng. His reaction is now not fake. Chi Changjai said, "You don't need to persuade fellow Lu, I have made up my mind. If I am destined to be unable to leave Tianlin continent, I have no regrets." Although Lu Huajing is a little pity that a genius like Chi Changjai will be delayed by Tianlin continent, but at this point, he knows that Chi Changjai can't change his mind again, so he has to give up. Okay, if he is late in the future. You and the ancient alchemist have the opportunity to come to Changxianmen, but you can report my name to come and look for it, and I will do my best for the friendship of the landlord. Okay, Deist Lu, please cherish it more, and see you again if you are destined to. Chi Changjai did not refuse, and he and Lu Huajing did not know each other. When he first met Lu Huajing, he was very unconvinced. He thought he would be a less broad-minded person. Little by little things have changed, and now he is trying his best to draw him into Changxianmen. His attitude is completely different from that of Ning Hui. Ning Hui is really not broad-minded. Okay, goodbye by fate. Lu Huajing left with regret. No matter how and the secret realm is, Chi Changjai and Gu Yao are still calm here, just waiting for the last day to come. Everyone is waiting for the moment when the secret realm closes and leaves. When the beams of light were projected, this time Chi Changjai grabbed Gu Yao's hand and never let go. During the transmission, he clearly felt that Gu Yao's hand never left. After a while, the stars shifted, and when they opened their eyes again, they had returned to the middle area between Tianfu Academy and Qingxiumen. After calculating the time, the two high-level officials who were waiting here were all staring at the place where these monks had disappeared. Suddenly, a bright light appeared. The beam of light was thrown from the void, and the monks rolled out from it. However, most cultivators can control their body well when they realize the current situation, throw out the magic weapon and drive back to their own camp. If they are caught off guard, they tumble out in an embarrassment, and their high-level officials have to catch it quickly. Dean Yu, several peak masters, Elder Yi, and other high-level officials are guarding here in person. They are also very worried about these students who enter the secret realm. Well, I'm afraid that if we don't agree with each other, the students in the academy will suffer a lot, and I don't know how much they can survive. Now seeing the person who was spat out by the beam of light, the stone that had been hanging has finally fallen back to its original position, and seeing the students who they valued show up with smiles on their faces, it seems that this loss is more than they expected. Little. It's good to come back, it's good to come back, everyone, go back to the academy with the dean on the flying instrument. Dean Yu flew into the air and announced loudly. Thank you, Dean. The people who came back alive were also very happy, and the flying instruments thrown at the dean flew over one by one. Qingxiumen did not want to be left behind, and ordered his disciples to come back. However, the sect master found that their disciples were all looking back. Looking at the students of Tianfu Academy, Elder Gan couldn't help but scolded, "Hurry up and put on the magic weapon, what's the matter? Looks good. Do you want to betray the division and join their Tianfu Academy?" Elder Gan, please don't say that. This time we can survive so many disciples, thanks to the other side Senior Brother Qi and the ancient alchemist, especially Senior Brother Qi. Without his protection, I don't know how many monks from Tianlin continent will die in Changxian. Those guys at the door have it. Yes, Elder Gan, we are both fellows of Tianlin continent, and we should work together to help each other. One by one, they scrambled to say good things for Tianfu Academy and refuted Elder Gan, making Elder Gan almost vomit blood, but the sect master realized the problem and stopped it. Okay, Elder Gan, say a few words, first. Use the magic weapon to return to the martial art. On the way, the sect master of Qingxiumen first asked his disciple about the situation in the secret realm. This time, even Elder Gan had nothing to say. What's more, it is estimated that there will be a lot of protest and condemnation. Dean Yu and others were also listening to the students talk about their experiences in the secret realm. After knowing what Qi Changjai did, the senior management couldn't help but feel fortunate that Qi Changjai entered Tianfu Academy by accident, otherwise not only would there not be many students who can come out alive, and the good things inside can't be brought out, but the harvest this time has greatly exceeded their high-level expectations. Not to mention the other, just refining the materials for Tianyuan Dan made the high-level people very excited, and Feng Lord Lin also came. He was a little itchy and couldn't help but want to use these materials to practice his hands. His dance skills can be said to be correct. Stuck at this level, if he can refine it successfully, he may be able to step into the ranks of 7th rank alchemists. But most of the materials were taken out by Guyao, and when Peak Master Lin asked for it from Guyao, he couldn't open his mouth a little. Guyao's previous actions also amounted to hitting him, the Dan Peak Master. President, why don't you invite Master Hugu to come over? Please open the furnace and refine Tianyuan Dan together with Master Lin Fang, Guyao suggested. I think it's okay, the dean should send an invitation letter to Lord Hugu as soon as possible, so as not to be preempted by other forces. The others agreed, and couldn't wait to urge. If you open your mouth to object, you will offend the high-level officials of the entire academy, and Guyao is not excluding him. Lin Fengju had to express his position. I think it's okay, I just took this opportunity to discuss with Huguzu. Then it's settled. Dean Yu happily made a decision. If Tianfu College produces 1 or 2 more golden pills, it will have a little more say. Of course, the cultivation situation of the entire Tianlin continent can be prosperous. I'm glad, I've been crushed by the city lord's mansion of Shifang City all these years. Huguzu also took the disciples in the valley on the return journey, and received an invitation from Tianfu Academy. Huguzu did not hesitate, and immediately gave a reply. When the disciple was sent back to the valley, he set off for the appointment. He was also very interested in refining Tianyuan pill. Interested, and he also has a need for Tianyuan Dan. With the return of the cultivator from Tianlin continent, Qi Changjai's actions spread throughout the continent, and his reputation quickly reached its peak. There are unhappy people behind them, and at this moment, they can only put away their own thoughts. Some people say that Qi Changjai will be the most promising young cultivator in Tianlin continent to form elixir, and he is also a powerful sword cultivator, so even if other cultivators can form elixir, Qi Changjai will still be the first in Tianlin continent. People. I don't know if there is any meaning to kill here, but those who have seen Qi Changjai's fighting power with their own eyes can't say a word against their will. Lu Huajing and his party still stayed in Shifang City's city lord's mansion for renovations. The news from the outside world had already spread to Shifang City. When the disciples of Chang Xianmen walked on the streets of Shifang City, they could hear the monks talking about the character Qi Changjai. Even if there is no mention of Chang Xianmen in the words, they still have a feeling of being degraded, and they are extremely angry. What kind of thing, you know how to praise Qi Changjai, except for Qi Changjai, who else in the entire Tianlin continent can do it? A bunch of trash. That's what Qi Changjai is, and trampled all the monks of Chang Xianmen under his feet. Brother Lu invited him to Chang Xianmen, but he still didn't want to go with Jiao. Humph, if he dared to go, he looks good with him. A foreign cultivator, even if the talent is high, so what? There are many of them with backgrounds, and they can kill that guy Chi Changjai with just a few tricks. But what's annoying is that this doesn't take the trick. Ha, he must be afraid of them, and he knows what will happen if he offends them. These cultivators shouted all the way back to the city lord's mansion. They happened to meet the city lord Mang, Lu Huajing, and Ning Hui, and they quickly stopped, but the voices of their discussion still entered their ears. After these people left, city lord Meng said thoughtfully, "What does Lu Xiao want to do? Do we need to take action here?" City lord Meng didn't expect that this trip to the secret realm actually made a boy from Tianlin continent show a lot of limelight and suppress the entire Changxian gate. He climbed up through the Changxian gate. He was worried that Lu Huajing was young and prosperous. Can't stand such criticism. I have to say that he was also very surprised by the character Chi Changjai. He was worried that if Chi Changjai continued to develop like this, it might not be long before he would be able to form a pill, and the city lord's mansion would not be able to suppress him. Where to go? City Lord Meng didn't forget that Tianfu College also has Dean Yu, and it feels a little tricky. These things happened during his tenure as city lord of Shifang City. If he changed the time, he would just watch the show, but if it was dealt with no, when he returns to the sect, he has no good fruit to eat, and he will also implicate the descendants and grandchildren. Lu Huajing said lightly with his hands behind his back, "Chang Xianmen is trampled, it is the incompetence of Chang Xianmen, and Daiyukai's swordsmanship is amazing, it is an unquestionable fact. If the disciples of Chang Xianmen can't afford to lose, they will be able to do so in the future. How much achievement! If you have the time to complain, it is better to cultivate well, and when your cultivation surpasses that of fellow Daoist Chi, you will naturally be able to find your way back." After he finished speaking, Lei Huajing glanced at the two of them and left with his hands behind his back. Ning Hui gritted his teeth. He clearly saw the disdain and ridicule towards him in Lu Huajing's eyes. City Lord Meng sighed in his heart. He didn't expect Lu Xiao to be such a naive person. It's a pity that he ran against the section. He glanced at Ning Hui next to him. He also heard that Ning Hui was in the secret realm with the man named Gu. Harika's alchemist hit the bar. "Meng Cheng Lord," Ning Hui said with bitter hatred, "senior brother Lu is so generous, but I am not like that. The reputation of Chang Xianmen cannot be allowed to be stepped on by a boy in the wilderness. What is the prestige of Chang Xianmen? City Lord Meng, you have a supervisory role in this place, but don't forget your responsibilities. It's not that Chang Xianmen didn't give them a chance, but they themselves refused. They must pay the price for their ignorance and arrogance." Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 162. When other forces inquired about Hugu's initiative, they found that he had already set off for Tianfu Academy, and had to give up. Whoever let Gu Yao bring out the most spirit grass alone, it would be difficult for other sects to impress Huguzi. Some sects also tried to send messages to Tianfu Academy and Huguzi, hoping to observe the refining of Tianyuan pill, and discuss and exchange alchemy techniques together. The request of these people, this result is very satisfactory to all parties. The news spread, making Tianfu Academy a lot of attention. The monks in Tianfu Academy who were despised by everyone in the past have now become the envy of everyone. If I knew that they had joined Tianfu Academy, I could get in touch with everyone at close range. The scene of alchemists collectively concocting alchemy. It has to be said that the gathering of these numerous alchemists at Tianfu Academy can be described as a grand event in the alchemy world of Tianlin continent. After the arrival of Gu Yao led him to visit the room dedicated to the placement of spirit grasses. All the harvests gathered in the room were gathered this time. Most of the students who came out of the secret realm handed over the spirit grasses that they did not need to the academy in exchange for contribution points. Including Gu Yao also handed over a part, and the weight is the largest, so even if he knew that he and Chi Changjai had two blood-glazed fruits in their hands, they did not reach a consensus to let them hand over one of them. In private, No one said that Chi Changjai only needs one, and Guyao is still a long way from the foundation building, so the second blood-glazed fruit should be handed over to help the college train the third Jindan cultivator, but Dean Yu stood on the side of Chi Changjai and Guyao, thinking that they took a lot of risk to get it, and it was up to them to decide whether to pay or not. Hu Guzu is the person who has the most contact with all kinds of rare spirit grasses on the Tianlin continent, because of his alchemy. The other cultivators were willing to send him any precious spiritual grass they found, but now they came to this room and saw all kinds of rare spiritual grass that shone with aura. Hu Guzu had the feeling that he was a country boy who had just entered the city. I can't stop looking at this and touching that, and my love is revealed. Little Fatty came in as Guyao's helper, and when he saw that his grandfather was in a state of ecstasy as soon as he saw the rare spirit grass, he had nothing to say. Grandpa is like this, he wanted to take care of me by himself, but once he studied pills, he had nothing to say. When you practice pills, you can leave all the trivial things behind, and I have been hungry several times before I have to leave it to others to take care of me. Guyao laughed. When I first entered the secret realm, I saw the spirit grass all over the ground, and I almost lost my eyes and couldn't move. After reading all of them, Hu Guzu calmed down a little, and said a few good words in a row. In the past, most of the rare spirit grasses were brought back from the secret realm or from the dangerous land, but the number and variety are also very limited, and no secret realm is like the Kankan secret realm. With such rich resources, if you open it a few more times, the cultivation level of Tianlin continent will definitely be improved to another level. Thinking like this, Hu Guzu felt that he was a little greedy. He got good and wanted better. When the other alchemists arrive, let's discuss it. After a few days of precipitation, let's start alchemy, and then ask the ancient alchemist to help me, Hu Gu said with a smile. No problem. Master Hu Gu patted his grandson's head. After the grandson entered the secret realm, he did not worry every day. According to his alchemy technique, he could even make a simple pot of medicinal pills and blow the pot. Until the news came, the grandson and Gu Harika and the others came out safely together, and his heart fell back to its original position. Just like when he went out to experience the danger, he knew that he should not prevent his grandson from entering the secret realm. He was destined to not go far because he was greedy for life and fear of death. But as a grandfather, how could he not worry about it, especially when he heard that the disciples of Chang Xianmen were tortured and killed in the secret realm at first. The local cultivator, he was even more afraid, but fortunately his grandson was clever, and later they were sheltered by Chi Changjai, so he was safe and sound, and he got his chance. Hearing his grandson talk about the encounter with Li Yulai and the role of the treasure snake that Li Yulai played in the secret realm, Hu Gu loved Wu Jiwu and Li Yulai, the crystal snake, very much. I heard that when many alchemists gathered in Tianfu College, Lu Huajing was about to take the disciples of Chang Xianmen to take the teleportation array back to the section. This trip to the secret realm has ended. Although many disciples have died, the gains are not small. These gains to be handed over to the sect in time. Thinking that so many spirit grasses were obtained by Guyao and his gang, and now they used spirit grasses to refine medicine pills, even Tianyuan pills, many Changxianmen disciples felt extremely uncomfortable, even if they recognized Qi Changjai's strength, but most of the rest are waste, and those spirit grass resources are wasted on them. Ning Hui was even more angry. If those spirit grasses were used for him, he would definitely become a 7th grade alchemist, but when he returned to the door, the spirit grass he brought back would have to turn into the 7th grade alchemist and fall into his hands. How much is left? So I hate and envy Guyao. Lu Huajing led the people into the teleportation array amid the discussions, and Ning Hui gave City Lord Meng a wink. City Lord Meng reassured him that Ning Hui was secretly happy, but it was a pity that he was about to leave, so he couldn't see that guy's defeat in person, otherwise he would be even happier. Lu Huajing sighed. After leaving, I don't know if there is any chance to meet fellow Daoist Qi again. I always feel that it is a pity. Who can compare to the proud of the heavens? Go. The alchemists gathered at Tianfu Academy were very polite to Guyao. Although Guyao was the youngest and the least qualified among the alchemists, he is now a mid-level foundation building cultivator and an 8th rank intermediate alchemist. It is said that even the 8th grade high-grade alchemy may not be a problem, but the time in the secret realm is in a hurry, and there is not much time for alchemy after advancing to the middle stage of foundation establishment, and the alchemy masters here are only 8th grade middle and high ranking, and Guyao's age is even they were younger than the apprentices they brought with them. Sometimes these alchemists look at the apprentices around them, and they have a kind of mentality that hates iron. Guyao can do it. The situation has regained a certain balance. Fortunately, their apprentices have not gone wrong, and there is no need to recruit additional apprentices to train them. As for the rumors that the apprentices of Lord Hugu's personal behavior was because of their misconduct and betrayal of their ancestors, that led to Lord Hugu's personal actions to invalidate their claims. Everyone just listened to them, and no one took it seriously. Even if it really happened, those two were the same. The apprentice is to blame himself, and no one can tolerate the apprentice committing trouble. On such an occasion, Hugu certainly did not forget his responsibility as the Kui Yan Gugu, so there were several elders and disciples who were now focusing on training. There are alchemy masters in the academy, such as the students on Danfeng, and these students who have joined Jianfeng to practice alchemy with Guyao. The students of Danfeng have now learned to keep their minds calm. The previous attitude of superiority was ignored. After the mentality was reversed, the atmosphere on Danfeng was much better than before. Let's get started. I'm refining a pot of 8th grade high-grade pills first. The materials used are, the techniques used are. Huguzu introduced his pill-making process while refining pills, while Guyao was beside him. While helping to sort out the needed spirit grass, some even carried out preliminary refining, saving Huguzu a lot of time. The alchemists sitting around looked at it very seriously, imprinting every detail in their minds, and seeing Guyao's unhurried handling of spirit grass with ease, those alchemists were not envious. The first pot of pills was successfully released with full preparation, and the fragrance of the pills floated out, which made people intoxicated. After the pill master put away, he adjusted his breath a little and solved the doubts of the pill masters. Making this kind of pill always feels like something is missing, but this time, it seems like a door has been opened, and I decided to try it again. There are also pill masters who have verified the pills of Huguzu and their own, and learn from each other's strengths. Alchemist Gu, come here. Huguzu called Guyao's name before restoring his breath. I'm coming. Guyao just wanted to fight this time. Yes, come here, I believe you have researched this medicine pill. Huguzu smiled. If someone else made such a suggestion, he would think that Guyao was deliberately made a fool of himself, but Guyao knew that Huguzu was not like that. Thinking of this, Guyao's mood is very peaceful. Okay, then I'll try it. As he spoke, he took out his new pill stove, which has been running in for a while. The more you use it, the more comfortable it is. No matter how other alchemists have objections in their hearts, they will not disturb him at such a time. Danfeng's alchemist even stared at Guyao in shock. He really dared to practice this 8th grade high-level pill. Ah, isn't he afraid of being laughed at when he fails? Some people think that his courage is worthy of admiration, and some people think that he is too self-sufficient and floats away after being praised by others. Wei Jinzi stared at Guyao's every move with fiery eyes, and he also held a photo stone in his hand to record all the scenes of alchemy on the spot, leaving it for further consideration. There are many alchemists who have done this, and some things it cannot be digested on the spot. Guyao also asked Jianfeng's alchemist to keep a photo-taking stone for the study of Jianfeng's alchemist and the alchemist who will come in the future. Such a level of photo-taking stone is not common. Guyao's movements were very steady, and he was stared at by countless pairs of eyes. he still put the spirit grass into the pill furnace step by step in an orderly manner. The refining process was perfect. Some people gradually realized that why Guyao has such a superb talent for alchemy under the qualifications of the four spiritual roots is inseparable from his powerful soul power. Many alchemists secretly made up their minds that when accepting disciples in the future, they should not only look at the spiritual root, but also the strength of the disciple's spiritual sense. However, they also know that a cultivator like Guyao with a naturally powerful soul is more qualified than the spiritual root. Rare. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 163. Some of the Danfan disciples who were watching from the outside looked dazed. This was the second time Guyao had alchemy in public. They couldn't help but think of the first time a few years ago. At that time, Guyao was questioned. The four spiritual roots cultivator that the teacher looked down on, Guyao used his alchemy technique to slap Danfan in the face, and since then, the alchemist on Danfan seems to have been chasing his footsteps. A few years have passed in a flash. The young alchemist who was questioned back then took too many steps and walked too fast, so that they now need to look up to this person. The doubt and contempt a few years ago have become the yearning and admiration now. And those people back then, some still stayed where they were. Do you think the ancient alchemist can succeed? 8th grade high-level pills are too high for 9th grade alchemists, so learning has become pure appreciation, and they share their feelings through voice transmission in private. I think it can be done, otherwise Master Who would not have pushed out the ancient alchemist. Isn't the person of Master Who still not clear? That is not someone who will deliberately embarrass the younger generation, not to mention that this time Master Who can come to our Tianfu Academy. Gu alchemist has the face a lot of weight. I heard that the alchemist Gu was very easy to refine the 8th rank intermediate pill in the secret realm. Now that his cultivation has gone a step further, it must not be difficult for him, right? It's not that easy. I don't think he needs to show the limelight at all. If he fails, can he afford the consequences? Hey, who doesn't know that the success rate of ancient alchemists in alchemy has always been very high? I heard that this is related to the strength of his soul. During the whole process of alchemy, he has a very high degree of control over the alchemy furnace and materials. The determinant of the high success rate. Not to mention the doubts in the hearts of the students on the outside, even the alchemists sitting around the inner perimeter are also a little worried, because Guyao is only in the middle stage of foundation building, and some monks in the later stage of foundation building are not afraid to say that they can refine this alchemy. Made successfully. But under the gaze of a pair of suspicious eyes, after the various materials in the pill furnace were refined, they had already entered the step of melting pills. Watching Guyao's movements of pinching pills in his hands, he felt as comfortable as the clouds and flowing water of his peers, without any sense of stagnation. It's not like the person who was initially exposed to this medicine pill, which made people feel surprised. It seems that the name of this young genius is not a false rumor. In the past, when I heard others praise him as a genius, I always felt that it was too exaggerated. In fact, people are like this. 5 or 6 points can be praised as 7 or 8 points. Now I have seen it with my own eyes. Those praises are still light. Dividing pills, condensing pills, forming pills, and finally collecting pills, Dangxiang is still floating in the sky, and pills have been drilled into the jade bottle one by one. In the charm of, for a long time could not return to God. The ancient alchemist is indeed much better than the old man in terms of refining and control. As long as the ancient alchemist's cultivation takes a step forward, the old man will be willing to bow down. Huguzu's voice brought everyone back to their senses, and Huguzu's evaluation made them buzzing. The number one alchemist in Lin continent, Hugu mainly abdicated to become a sage, and belonged to Guyao, and he was still so young. I don't know how far he could go in the future, and the room for growth was higher and wider. Where there is no end to alchemy, I still have a lot to learn, Gu Yao said modestly. You all have much more experience than me. Next, Master Hu Gu and everyone present tried other medicinal pills. Those medicinal masters also tried refining. Some of them succeeded and some failed. Don't be afraid of failure. Just sum up the experience and lessons and come back. Spirit grass, they feel that they have made a lot of progress. In such an atmosphere, Hu Gu's state was also adjusted to the best. When the meditation was completed and his spiritual power and consciousness returned to the peak state, Hu Gu finally decided to open the furnace to refine Tianyuan pill. Staring closely, the atmosphere did not dare to take a breath, for fear of affecting Hu Gu. Lord Hu Gu had two people who were attacking. One was Gu Yao, and the other was Lord Lin of Danfan. The other people in the alchemy skills of Lin Fengju naturally couldn't pick out any problems. If it weren't for a genius like Gu Yao, the reputation of Lin Fengju will be louder. Qi Changjai has been holding the sword in a place not far from Gu Yao, and most of the time he closes his eyes to adjust his breath, but even if his eyes are not open, he can clearly perceive Gu Yao's every move. Gu Yao felt that Qi Changjai was too nervous. Although there are many alchemists from other forces here, can they make any unfavorable actions in front of everyone's eyes? This time, unless there are special materials that need to be handled by Hu Gu personally, other materials are refined first, purified repeatedly, and then handed over to Hu Gu to be smelted. Therefore, Gu Yao and Lin Feng divided the work and cooperated. The refined materials were handed over to Master Hu Gu for inspection. Gu Yao used his spiritual power to open a jade box in front of him. Inside was a yin bone grass, which grew in a strange yin land and was an important accessory for Tianyuan Dan. Gu Yao took yin grass into his hands, and habitually used his spiritual sense to sweep the yin bone grass from beginning to end. Some impurities were removed by this step. If someone observes meticulously, they will pay attention to it. One thing, that is, any spiritual grass in Gu Yao's hand, the spiritual light will be slightly better than before. Only this time, Gu Yao's hand tightened a bit, and then quickly relaxed, as if there was nothing abnormal. Qi Changjai suddenly opened his eyes glued to Gu Yao. In the space, Su Chen grabbed a small thing, which was wrapped in a soul force and was struggling desperately to break free. Gu Yao lowered his eyes and asked with his divine sense, "Senior, what is that?" It's impossible not to check the spirit grass when it was put into storage. How could a bug burrow into the spirit grass and hide? That worm, if it wasn't checked with divine sense, would have been impossible to detect with the naked eye. I know this bug. If you put it into the pill furnace along with the spirit grass, do you know what will happen? Su Chen's voice was solemn. Friar, Gu Yao said tentatively. Su Chen sneered, the friar is light, if it is serious, it may cause the refiner's consciousness to backlash, causing the damage to the sea of consciousness shows that someone wants to deal with you, and this kind of bug cannot be picked up anywhere. Gu Yao's face is not different, and he discussed with Su Chen, I will continue to refine, seniors may wish to help me pay attention to the surroundings, I want to start people who will watch near me, I want to know who is attacking me. And is it from Tianfu Academy or an alchemist from outside? However, he felt that the people in Tianfu Academy had more opportunities to do it. Before these materials were released from the warehouse, it was difficult for people from other forces to contact them except Hu Gu. Okay, you practice, I'll help you watch. Su Chen is also angry, if Gu Yao is not careful, if something goes wrong, he will also be implicated. Since knowing the special bloodline in Gu Yao's body, it is no longer believed that the pill pavilion will fall on Gu Yao for no reason. The origin of the pill pavilion itself is very doubtful. In the eyes of outsiders, after Gu Yao took out the yin bone grass, he checked the spirit grass as before, and then dropped the spirit grass into the pill furnace, and used pill fire to quench and purify it to remove impurities. During this process, all the pill masters present were. It can be felt that the majestic divine consciousness is wrapping the entire pill furnace, and the pill furnace is also buzzing and shaking. Because of the powerful control of divine consciousness, Guyao's refining process is shorter than other pill masters, but the purity of the spiritual liquid, but it's not low at all, only better. Guyao didn't distract himself. He believed Su Chen and gave him the whole matter. Those who hide in the dark will definitely show the fox's tail. Guyao is operating steadily, and more impurities are removed. The purification of yinbone grass is much more difficult than other spirit grasses, because the spirit grass itself is yin, and an accident will lead to the whole spirit grass destroyed and turned into a piece of black charcoal, but under his operation, a pure and cold aura permeated. Some people showed admiration on their faces. It can be said that at this stage, Guyao's operation is quite perfect. Maybe it won't be long before he can refine Tianyuan Dan by himself, which is also a blessing for Tianlin continent. There was also a hint of surprise in the eyes of some people. How could it be refined to this level? Did you say it was discovered? The man quickly calmed himself down, showing a look of relief and admiration like everyone else. Qi Changai's fingers moved, keeping everyone's expressions in his eyes. Su Chen did the same in the space, and he also noticed Qi Changai's movements. He thought that this kid's observation skills were good, and he noticed such subtle changes. Finally, the purified spiritual liquid of yinbone grass was ingested into the jade bottle and handed over to Huguzu. Huguzu was extremely satisfied. Only one person's eyes flashed with gloom, so fast that it was difficult for people to notice. Huguzu started the refining of Tianyuan pill. Bottles of spiritual liquid were poured into the pill furnace in front of him. Spiritual consciousness rushed out of the nest, wrapped all the spiritual liquid in the pill furnace, and pinched out the pills one by one, according to the early simulation. After several times, the process began to smelt in an orderly manner, and violent reactions began to occur between various spiritual liquids, and there was a constant roar in the elixir furnace. When Master Hugu announced that he would start refining Tianyuan pill, there were many people in the square. President Yu came over in person. One was to watch, so as to know the result of the refining at the first time, and the other was to protect the law for Master Hugu, so as to in order to prevent anyone from disturbing. The peak masters of other peaks and the elder Yifang Wanggru were all present. These people all know that the result of Tianyuan pill refining is extremely important to them and the entire Tianlin continent. It is not only Tianfa College and Qian Valley that are related to each other. If the refining is successful, Tianfa College and Qian Valley will occupy the second place. They also have the opportunity to get Tianyuan Dan, and they are expected to sprint Jindan. I have to say that in the past few years, the stagnant alchemy technique of Lord Hugu has grown again. There were two dangers, but he was controlled by his control. Gradually, the tremor in the alchemy furnace became smaller, and there was the scent comes out. Everyone rejoices. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 164. When the three dark red medicinal pills spun around in the air and jumped into the jade bottle below, many people wept with joy. Although there were some mistakes in the middle, and only 3 pills could be made in the end, but for many years, there is no alchemist in Tianlin continent who can refine Tianyuan pill, and Changxianmen will not easily flow Tianyuan pill to Tianlin. On the mainland, the 3 Tianyuan pills at this moment are particularly valuable. Huguzu's consumption is relatively large, but he is also very happy. Hu Mao is fortunately not humiliated. Wait for me to rest, and then try to refine the second furnace. Thank you, Lord Hugu. Although Lord Hugu adjusts his breath, Mr. Yu personally protects the Lord Hugu. President Yu Lang. Sound. The other cultivators present also made the same statement. After they were excited, they knew that the 3 Tianyuan pills were too few. Only one pill could be released, and the other two pills. The competition for the last Tianyuan pill will definitely be fierce, so of course the more Tianyuan pill the better. Master Yu asked each peak master to clear some of the students out, lest there would be too many people disturbing Master Hugu, and the level of Tianyuan Dan was too high for some alchemists who were still in the qi refining stage. The place suddenly became much quieter. Guyao acted as if nothing had happened. Master Hugu adjusted his breath, and he also recovered his spiritual power and consciousness. When the furnace was turned on again, he was still doing his own thing, but his precautions were stricter. The second batch of Tianyuan Dan failed. Although it is a pity that a precious material was wasted, everyone knows that failure is a very normal thing. Huguzu also knew that he was a little impatient when he was refining the second furnace. He learned a lesson. This time, he rested for a day and a night. There has also been a slight change. This kind of change can be seen most clearly by Dinyu and Qi Changjai. Maybe it won't be long before another Jindan cultivator will appear on the Tianlin continent, and a real 7th rank pill will also be ushered in. Division. This time, the alchemy was really smooth, and Master Hugu himself felt much more comfortable. In the end, it turned out to be 5 pills. Needless to say, the news would be spread immediately, and it would not take a moment for the major forces to know about it, and they rushed to Tianfu Academy. After the third batch of pills, Huguzu stopped, and if he continued to refine it, he might not have the effect of the third one. Moreover, the Tianfu Academy's Tianyuan pill had limited material reserves. He privately wanted to keep a few copies for Guyao. He wanted to refine it. Other forces will try to get together for him. Dean Yu was also very happy and invited Huguzu to go to his main peak to rest and adjust. Huguzu did not refuse to obey. The entire Tianfu Academy was in a carnival, and no one noticed that the little fatty was particularly excited, and the elders and disciples of Kui Yanggu who came with Hugu were also warmly received by the Tianfu Academy. Not long after, flying instruments appeared in the sky above Tianfu Academy. Needless to say they came for Tianyuan Dan. The Tianfu Fang city outside the academy was also very lively, with monks from all over the place gathered here. Tianfu Academy is no longer a garbage containment. So, the students who came out also held their heads high and were extremely proud. Yeah, that's the logo of the North Star sect, the people from the North Star sect are here. It's from the 7-star sect over there, they're not too slow. Where did that flying instrument come from? It seems that the level of the instrument is not lower than that of the North Star sect. That magic weapon belongs to the City Lord's mansion in Shifang City. I didn't expect that the City Lord's mansion also sent people here. Don't they have a connection with Changxianmen? Changxianmen hasn't reached the point where Tianyuan Dan fills the streets. It's not easy to get a Tianyuan Dan, not to mention that there are too many monks and few porridge, who will get it. This is what Tianfirong saw when he came out to see Lao Qi. After Lao Qi asked him to stay in Fangxi, he went to the secret realm. Take the time out to see how he is doing. Lao Qi didn't let Tianfirong keep him. After renting a small courtyard in Fangxi, he usually either cultivated or went hunting in the Kukiu mountains to find spirit grasses. The spirit stones in exchange were left over for his own cultivation. Give the spirit stone to the current master. How can Tianfirong accept it? Old Qi, keep it for yourself. I just came out of the secret realm, and I am rich. I will ask you for it after the spirit stone is gone. By the way, you also keep these medicinal pills, don't refuse. The more you cultivate, the more useful you can be to me. Old Qi was bitter, and of course he was more happy. He didn't expect that when he came out of the secret realm, the master had already established the foundation, and the young and old have not yet crossed this step. The news has now spread back to Yuanyang town. The Tian family must be very excited. Now that the Tian family has 3 foundation building cultivators, the Gu family and the Lu family are nothing. Okay, Lao Qi put it away. If you have something to do with the young master, even tell Lao Chi to do it. Tian Furong thought of the mixed situation in Fang Market these few days, and said, Lao Chi, please help me pay attention to the people coming and going in plus or minus Fang Market to see if there are any suspicious monks. Okay, the master will keep an eye on Lao Chi even if he doesn't say anything. In addition, you can find a way to return these medicinal pills to my grandfather in Yuanyang town. I can't use them anymore, but don't tell me. Tian Furong thought about it and took out a few more bottles of medicinal pills. He has a great kindness, which he cannot forget. Yes, master. Lao Chi knew that the current little master was very soft-hearted and missed his old feelings. It is really surprising that people from the city lord's mansion appeared in Tianfu Academy. At present, the students in the academy can't remember when these guys came to their academy. Is it not uncommon? But at this time, what is the idea, who can not know? When the shield was opened and the magic weapon landed inside the academy, Dean Yu personally brought the Peak Master to greet the monks who came down from the magic tool. The monks from other forces were also in the welcome team, but they were not in such a mood. Happy, this is more than just one more competitor. The city lord's mansion is not only overwhelming, but also has a lot of money. In short, they have a great appetite. The person leading the team from the city lord's mansion is an old acquaintance of Gu Yao, the elder he who has dealt with him several times, but Miss Ruan, who has a nose and eyes, is missing. Congratulations to Dean Yu, congratulations to Tianfu College. I don't know where Hu Guzu is. He wants to congratulate Hu Guzu in person. Dean Yu waved his hand and said, Master Hu Gu has something to gain after refining the alchemy, so he decided to retreat for a while. This is not still in retreat, and Elder He's words will be conveyed by Mr. Yu on his behalf. Elder He didn't expect this result. Lord Hu Gu really doesn't treat Tianfu Academy as an outsider, so he closed himself up on someone else's site. Since Hu Ting can't see it himself, let's talk about the topic. I don't know Tianyu and Dainyu Academy. What should you do? City Lord Meng specifically explained to he that, if possible, the city lord's mansion can buy 3 of them at a high price. Dean Yu sneered in his heart, knowing that the people from the city lord's mansion are not good, but he didn't expect them to dare to speak, and they would go to 3 at once, and he was not worried about provoking public anger, so he politely said, if Elder He can convince others fellow deist, that Yu is no longer that wicked person. Elder He was angry, he had moved out of City Lord Meng, and this surnamed Yu was so disrespectful. But Dean Yu didn't wait for him to say anything, and continued, no matter who Tian Yuan Dan is sold to, it will offend others, so we discussed it with the senior management of our college, and it happened that it is rare for all parties to gather in our college, so it will be set in 3 days. Let's auction Tian Yuan Dan in public, and the one with the highest price will get it. Our college will keep 2 of them, Hu Guzu will keep 1, and the rest will be auctioned. Tianfu College has 2 left is the maximum limit. If there are more other forces, I am afraid that they will have opinions. Moreover, Dean Yu is more and more optimistic about Gu Yao. He believes that as long as Gu Yao is there, the college wants Tian Yuan Dan is not difficult, so this will be very generous to let out 5 of the Tian Yuan Dan. Good. Very good. Then our city lord's mansion will wait for the auction in 3 days. Elder He led people down. Rest. Dean Yu was not polite, he turned around and sold the city lord's mansion. Who let the lion surnamed He open his mouth, and he slapped his face on the spot when he was not satisfied, and did not think that he, a cultivator who had not yet completed the pill, would dare to make a knot with him. Brother Dan exerts oppression. It's really deceiving. Fortunately, Dean Yu has withstood the oppression of the city lord's mansion. This group of guys who eat inside and out has not seen how generous the surnamed Meng is to this group of guys. To help them get Tian Yuan Dan. I think it's better to find a way to raise more spirit stones and spirit grass. It's not fake that the city lord's mansion is rich and powerful. This day Yuan Dan must be captured. Although a force such as the Northern Star sect can harvest 1 or 2 pieces of Tianyuan Dan in the secret realm of Kankan, even if Huguzu is invited to make it, who can guarantee that the furnace will not fail twice? No one dared to make this bet, so now there are ready-made Tianyuan Dan. No matter what, they have to fight for one, and if they get one of them, they will also pour out a golden pill if they gather the power of the whole sect. Now the situation on the mainland is very obvious. What we are watching is not the competition of foundation building, but the golden core. If there is no golden core cultivator, I am afraid that the spiritual minds of Zongmen will not be able to hold. Regardless of how the various forces raised spirit stones and spirit grasses, Guyao and Qi Changjai appeared in the secret room of Huguzu's temporary retreat, and the little fat man followed. Guyao and Qi Changjai had discussed it, so at this moment they pushed a jade box that cut off the breath in front of Huguzu. This is. Master Hugu still didn't know what was in the jade box. He took a look and opened it, showing a look of shock, and quickly closed it and pushed it back. What are you doing? Hurry up and put it away. Because of the leak of the breath just now, the little fat man also knew what was in the jade box. It was one of the blood-glazed fruits. He was immediately excited and uneasy, and he didn't know what to say. Master Hugu, please accept it, Qi Changjai smiled and said, Xiaoao, and I only need one. That one is for Xiaoao. As for me, I don't need the blood-glazed fruit. Huh. Huguzu was amazed. Qi Changjai's name was already in his ears, but he didn't expect him to speak so loudly. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 165. Seeing that Huguzu didn't believe it, Guyao explained with a smile, Big Brother Ye came here from other cultivation continents, and he had already formed pills, but when he passed through the cracks in space, in order to save his life, his cultivation fell back to the original point and started from scratch, but the previous experience is all there. As long as he has accumulated enough, it is not too difficult for him to reform a pill. Right now, Gugu needs more blood-glazed fruit. When Gugu came, the wind was calm, but if you want to go back, I'm afraid that the journey will not be peaceful. If Gugu succeeds in forming a pill in our academy, then everyone else's careful arrangements will be in vain. Master Hugu's expression also became solemn. Although he was so focused on the alchemy technique that he even ignored Gu Wu and his only grandson, he also saw the changes in the situation in the mainland in the past few years. Appearing, it was an accident for the mainland and the city lord's mansion. If it weren't for this accident, it would be rare for a cultivator to appear on the mainland. And as a person who can refine Tianyuan Dan, will Hu Ting become a thorn in the eyes of some people? The little fat man was anxious. He couldn't imagine his grandfather being besieged on the way back. Those alchemists in Qian Valley were not like Guyao, who were very weak in combat. Qi Changjai will persuade one more. If Huguzu feels bad, it's better to wait for Huguzu to condense the pills and then open the furnace to make pills. Maybe a middle-grade pill can be made, so how about I pre-order one? Huguzu looked at the expressions of several people, and finally gritted his teeth and said yes, then I will take your favor. Guyao smiled and said that the little fat man and us are like brothers, and Huguzu is our elder. Huguzu laughed with relief. If outsiders knew that the two of them handed a blood-glazed fruit to him, they would probably think they were crazy. These two juniors acted quite unexpectedly, and they didn't expect Qi Changjai to have such a history, which could explain why he was so amazing. After learning about Guyao and their decision, Dean Yu sent Huguzu to the secret place of the academy to retreat. There is a formation to protect it, and it also has a certain weakening effect on the Thunder Tribulation. The conditions are not necessarily as good as their academy. Master Hugu can form an elixir, and Dean Yu knows very well that it will be of great benefit to Tianfu College. This time, if Master Hugu can form an elixir, then Qian Gu owes Tianfu College this kind of favor. As soon as 3 days passed, the auction of Tianyuan Dan started. It was not an official auction, so there was no need to get it in the auction room. Come out, and then all parties will quote their own prices, and the one with the higher price will win. Some people secretly scolded Dean Yu, who usually doesn't show much movement, and is very cunning at a critical moment. This time Tianfu College has become the biggest naked family, but he scolded in his heart, but he didn't show it in his mouth, because if Dean Yu didn't do this, I am afraid that most of these medicinal pills will fall into the hands of the city lord's mansion, and they will be the ones who will suffer at that time. Master Hugu has really retreated. It seems that Master Hugu has achieved a lot in alchemy this time. Without seeing Huguzu appear, everyone speculated, and it can be seen that what Dean Yu gave was not an excuse. The door owner of Tianhaimen came in person and brought Tian Fei Yang with him. The Tian family brothers were naturally friendly when they met. The door owner of Tianhaimen was determined to get one of the Tian Yuan pills this time. Dean Yu didn't talk nonsense after he came, and went straight to the topic. Let's start now. You are impatient, I also want to. Get rid of it early so that my ears won't be quiet for a moment. Everyone smiled kindly, but when President Yu took out the first Tian Yuan Dan, everyone's faces sank. 5 Tian Yuan pills, the first 3 are from the first furnace, and the last 2 are refined from the third furnace. They are all inferior, so let's start. Everyone knows that although the 2 pots of pills are low-grade pills, there are also low-grade pills that are of good quality and a little worse. What can you do besides being cunning? So just after a little stunt, they began to compete for the price, and the price continued to climb. Guyao and the others were watching from the side, seeing these big guys blushing and thick necks asking for a price, without a high-level attitude, their hearts jumped. Sure enough, alchemists make money quickly. Oh yes, they have to be alchemists with high success rate. Like those materials are also valuable. The first Tian Yuan pill was finally put into the bag by Tianhaimen, and it was safe to put it in the bag. Tianhaimen's sect master breathed a sigh of relief. Although the second batch was better, you can get one first, in case you can't get it later. Woolen cloth? The forehead of Tianhaimen's sect master was sweating. It has to be said that Tianhaimen still has some background. The shopkeeper Ruan was sitting behind Elder He and said through a voice transmission, how did Elder He hold back in the end? He could have grabbed it. Ruan Xinhui was his daughter, so Guyao didn't know that although Miss Ruan didn't come, she dad is here. Elder He stroked his beard and said, I am aiming for the last 2. If the shopkeeper Ruan wants it, he can participate in the auction and buy it himself. Shopkeeper Ruanda moved his mouth, and finally died down. Although he took advantage of his position to gather a lot of money, but now it's all sects competing with sections. No matter how much he has, can he be compared to the strength of the entire sect? The shopkeeper Ruanda secretly regretted that the last time he let his daughter play with his temper, he actually offended Guyao, a new alchemist. Offending Guyao might not be the most important, but that Hugu also stood behind Guyao. The other monks also saw the intention of the Tianhaimen sect master, so the competition for the second and third attacking Tian Yuan Dan became more intense. Although there were not many people, the atmosphere in the living room was about to blow the roof off. Dude, it's more than blushing and thick neck, I just want to fight with my sleeves and let the losers stop. The last one fell into the hands of the Northern Star sect, and the other went into the hands of Qingxiumen. This result surprised the other cultivators. Who would have thought that Qingxiumen would be able to take out such a large amount of wealth in silence? Mountain Dew, it seems that this martial art is underestimated. The other forces that didn't grab it represent disappointment, and the remaining 2 have no chance, but it doesn't mean that there is no chance at all. As long as Huguzu is still there and the materials for Tianyuan Dan are not used up, there is still a chance to get Tianyuan Dans. Thinking of this, I was a little relieved. The situation of the last 2 makes people laugh and cry. It turned out to be infighting and mutual indifference, making people think that there is a feud, but at this moment, they have united very tacitly, as if they want to kill the city lord's mansion. Asking prices one higher than the other. In their opinion, even if the city lord's mansion is rich and powerful, it can't make them easy to win. They have to make them spit blood again. It is better for Tianfu Academy to get the benefits than for the city lord's mansion to take advantage of it. 2 million spirit stones. The head of the Seven Stars sect clenched his teeth and quoted the price. In fact, if the Seven Star sect wants to raise this spiritual stone, it is estimated that the entire sect will be hollowed out, but it is not reconciled that it will fall into the hands of the city lord's mansion. Every time the Immortal Ascension Conference returns, how much wealth will those who come from Changxian sect take away from the continent? The shopkeeper Ruanda quit, jumped up and scolded, "You Seven-Star sect can get 2 million spirit stones. President Yu, do you want to check the family assets they brought? Otherwise, we will suspect that you are united on purpose." Price gouging. This price has almost doubled compared to the previous Tianyuan Dan. Do you really take their city lord's mansion as a big deal? He just suspected that the surnamed Yu had colluded with these guys and acted in embarrassment. Seeing that the city lord's mansion is not happy, the sect of the Seven-Star sect returned a little blood, raised his eyebrows and replied, "How do you know that our Seven-Star sect can't take it? If we take it out, does this Tianyuan pill belong? Are we from the Seven-Star sect? I don't believe it." Unless you put the spirit stone out, storekeeper Ruan clearly looked down on the Seven-Star sect, while Elder He was sitting there, letting the surnamed Ruan scold him. Treasurer Ruanda, don't be impatient. We have reached an agreement with the Seven-Star section this time. We will fully support the Seven-Star sect to compete for this Tianyuan pill. If the shopkeeper Ruanda surrenders, the little old man couldn't be more grateful. The general manager of a chamber of commerce, after walking out, he bowed to the shopkeeper Ruanda with a smile, and then took out a storage bag on the spot, which contained 1 million spiritual stones. The shopkeeper Ruan almost took a breath, but he didn't expect the two parties to join hands. He couldn't say that others were fouling, so he turned to look at Elder He. Elder He's expression only sank a little at this time. It seems that this time they won't get anything unless they bleed a lot. These guys are really the opposite, and dare to fight against the city lord's mansion. He narrowed his eyes and said, 2 million and 1 million. 2,200,000. Every time the price was increased, Guyao, Tianfirong and Little Fatty all felt their hearts tremble, but Chi Changjai looked indifferent. Is this price considered high? He participated in the auction. The spiritual stone was not calculated by the following lingxi, which is all the Chinese lingxi, so it's a small scene in front of you. He believes that there will be no shortage of middle-grade spirit stones in the realm of Changxianmen. By the way, he and Guyao have gained a lot in the Kankan secret realm this time. Inside the bag, a lot of middle-grade spirit stones were seized. It was only after adding 2.5 million 7 stars that they stopped. Although they didn't grab the pills, they felt a lot better when they saw Elder He and the shopkeeper Ruan, who looked sore. Dean Yu sits firmly on Mount Tai and looks very calm, but if someone observes carefully, he will find that his hands trembled when the final decision was made. Tianfu College was poor in the past, and Guyao gave it to the college. The profit of the Qingchen Dan is quite wide, and now suddenly there is such a large sum of money. The taste of suddenly becoming rich is a bit overwhelming. Of course, the remuneration from Master Hugu still has to be paid, but there is still a lot of Tianfu College left, so it should be no problem to smash the spirit stones and pile up 2 golden pills this time. Cough, be quiet, fellow deists, there is still the last Tianyuan pill left. Please bid if you are interested. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 166. 2 million spirit stones. As soon as Dean Yu's voice fell, someone shouted loudly. The cultivator of the city lord's mansion reacted the most violently. The shopkeeper Ruanda slapped the table hard, stood up and pointed at the person opposite and wanted to scold him. Very ugly. Needless to say, the person who made the quotation was the sect master of the 7-star section. Before anyone else could react, he immediately called the price to 2 million. Later, he found a lot of tea spraying and coughing sounds, which scared the person to death. There is no reserve price for this medicine pill, and there is no limit to the minimum one-time price increase, so it cannot be said that the actions of the 7-star sect master are illegal. So President Yu twitched the corners of his mouth, wanted to laugh and tried to restrain himself, and said loudly, 2 million spirits she, is there any fellow deist who has increased the price? If the price is not increased, then the last Tianyuan pill belongs to. Wait, before Dean Yu could say what he said, Elder He stood up and interrupted Dean Yu aloud. However, he stared at the sect master of the 7-star sect with fire-breathing eyes, making people suspect that he was thinking about it. The sect master was strangled, but the sect master was not disturbed and still sat there calmly. In the end, Elder He had to quote in a sinister voice, 2.1 million. He spat out word by word, seemingly exhausted, and then glared at the 7-star sect master to see if he had the guts to do it again. Markup. The sect master of the 7-star sect glanced at him lightly, and opened his mouth to receive another 2.1 million. Elder He's face turned blue and red, which made people suspect that he was about to vomit blood from the anger of the 7-star sect master, and President Yu came to add fuel to the fire at this time. If Elder He can't decide, you can contact City Master Meng to see what it is. Result. No, 2.2 million. 2.5 million, the 7-star sect master fluttered and dropped a bomb that could blow up the entire reception hall. Guyao could even feel a gust of air that exploded with a bang, rushing out of the roof, rushing on up to the sky. Crazy, crazy. The 7-star sect is crazy. It's really in conflict with the City Lord's mansion. I think the City Lord's mansion is not enough. Most of the spiritual stone resources they caught are sent to Changxianmen. How much is left in their hands, and they want to take all the medicine pills, it is not enough. To be honest, watching them vomit blood is also very enjoyable. You said, do we want to support the 7-star sect and let them take pictures of Tianyuan Dan? Can you watch the 7-star sect sitting big? Are you afraid that the 7-star sect will bite back after the cultivator has formed a pill? Of course we have to talk about it first. After all, the 7-star sect master is still a cultivator from our Tianlin continent. It's better than outsiders. I think it works. The leaders of several forces were calm on the surface, but they were madly sound transmission in private, and then they reached an agreement and passed the result to the 7-star sect master. The fist that had been clenched quietly relaxed, and let out a long breath without a trace. With the private support of all parties, the 7-star sect finally bid a high price of 3 million to take the last Tianyuan pill from the City Lord's mansion and his party, and let Elder He and his party exchange for one of the pills. He walked away on the spot, with the most sinister look in the eyes of the shopkeeper Ruanda, who clearly wrote, if you have a life to take the medicine pill, it depends on whether you can enjoy this life or not. Elder He and his party were determined to win 3 of them, and had to keep 2 of them as a last resort. Unexpectedly, these guys joined forces to play a game, and only got 1 of them, that is, 4 went out. Thinking about this result, I feel that I can't explain to City Lord Meng. Elder He and his entourage didn't even stop at Tianfu College anymore, they refused Dean Yu's retention, and left Tianfu College directly on the flying instrument. The atmosphere on the instrument was also very depressed. Halfway through the flight, a message came, and a terrifying momentum suddenly burst out from the flying instrument. The aura of the riot almost caused the flying instrument to lose control in mid-air. When the others saw that the center of the riot came from Elder He, they hurried over. When he rushed over, Elder He had already restrained his outward aura, but his face was gloomy. He glanced at the monk who came in front of him, and relayed the message just sent. Hu Ting successfully formed a pill at Tianfu College and became a golden pill monk. Already, some people almost didn't know who Hu Ting was. After thinking about it, it was not the Hugu owner of Qian Valley. No, didn't he retreat in Tianfu Academy? It turned out that it was not a simple retreat, but a single-minded attack on the Golden Core, and let him succeed. The shopkeeper Ruanda was shocked and said, "How long has it been? How can it be so smooth? Even if there is Tianyuan Dan, it shouldn't be like this." "Elder," he said with a sullen face, "what if there is a blood glass fruit to help?" "Impossible," several people screamed, then realized their gaffes, and looked at each other with a look of surprise. "Elder, is it wrong? Who will give up their blood glass fruit, Chi Changjai and Guyao? Unless they don't want to form a pill, no one is sure about his own future. With Tianyuan pill, he will be able to successfully form a pill, especially since Guyao is the qualification of 4 spiritual roots. The need for blood glazed glass fruit is even greater. If it wasn't for the 2 of them staying in Tianfu Academy, the people outside would have attacked them long ago, trying to grab the blood glazed fruit in their hands." "Elder," he squinted, "I can't figure it out either, but other than that, I can't think of any other reason that could help that fellow Hu Ding succeed in forming a pill, speed up his return to Shifang City, and quickly report to the city master." The order was passed on, and the flying instrument in mid-air suddenly accelerated, streaked across the sky like a sharp arrow, and it was fleeting. At this moment, Tianfu Academy is immersed in a cheerful atmosphere. The heavenly tribulation of Hugu's formation has just dissipated, and the remnants of the previous vision can still be seen in the air. Although Hugu is not a person from Tianfu Academy, but he formed the formation in the academy. And the relationship with the college is quite good, so it is still an inspiring pleasure. Huguzu slightly consolidated the golden pill that had just condensed, and then walked out of the secret place. The feeling after forming the pill was completely different from that of the foundation building. After stepping into this new realm, he also felt a sense of enlightenment. Sure enough, the cultivation base is the foundation of the pursuit of alchemy. This foundation is not firm, and the achievements in alchemy are limited after all. Thinking about the previous tribulation situation, if it wasn't in the secret place of Tianfu Academy, I'm afraid that the danger is very likely to die under the calamity. Compared with Qian Valley, Tianfu Academy is more profound. The senior management of the academy stayed outside the secret place and congratulated Huguzu as soon as he came out. The Qian Valley cultivators who came with Huguzu were even more so happy. When they saw their Guzu, they were so excited that they couldn't even say anything. They also have a Jindan cultivator in Qian Valley. Qian Valley is no longer only good at alchemy, but has stepped into Jindan, and the alchemy of the valley owner has also entered another higher realm. "Valley Master." An elder's voice was choked up, unable to speak. Master Hugu patted him on the shoulder. "The successful formation of the elixir this time is inseparable from the full support of Tianfu College. In the future, whenever Tianfu College is in need, Qian Valley will always follow." "Yes, Guzu, we will keep the words of Guzu in mind. These elders are not stupid. No matter what, the formation of pills by Huguzu cannot be separated from the help of Tianfu Academy. There will also be a little more danger in the middle. Once you can't pass that level, without Hugu, the entire Qian Valley exam will be in danger, and it is very likely that it will fall apart in an instant." "Gu Master, the news has been sent back to Qian Valley. I believe that the valley is full of joy at this moment. It happened that most of the forces who came to Tianfu College did not leave, so President Yu took the initiative and held a celebration banquet for Huguzu. Of course, everyone sat down and gathered, and then listened to Huguzu this time. The experience of breaking through is an excellent opportunity to learn from experience for other people who have the opportunity to break through, and they can avoid detours." At the end of the banquet, Dean Yu asked people to remove the table and put the tea and fruit, and then Dean Yu said, "Everyone, you had kept everyone for a while in the name of Huguzu. Don't hide everyone, I was just worried that there would be many twists and turns on the way back, especially the people who carried Tianyuan Dan. Here's what you said, where to go, you can decide for yourself." After President Yu finished speaking, he ended the celebration. The forces of various sects returned to their resting places with a confused expression. They didn't know whether President Yu was alarmist or something really happened. Guyao and Qi Changjai went back to their yard together. The little fat man stayed with Huguzu. Dean Yu already knew his identity, but Huguzu did not propose to let him return to Qian Valley, and Dean Yu also acquiesced. Down, and there is no publicity. I always feel that the previous situation is about to be broken, and this continent will not be peaceful. Does Tianhaimen decide when to leave? Tianhaimen has the longest distance and is most likely to be ambushed along the way. Haven't left yet. Of course, let them choose to retreat in Tianfu Academy like Huguzu, but they hesitated. One is that they cannot fully trust Tianfu Academy, and secondly, not everyone is like Huguzu, because they have learned from refining Tianyuan pill, and they are just one step away. If you can break through, who knows how long this retreat will take to close, maybe a year or 2 or even 5 or 8 years, what will happen to Hyman that day? What is the difference between forming an elixir on someone else's territory and relying on someone else's sect? Tianfi Yang didn't leave, Tianfirong stayed with his elder brother. The balance will always be broken, and Tianfu College will also be pushed to the forefront, but with me here, no one can hurt you. Xiaoao Qi Changjai looked at Guyao seriously and said, "Brother Ye, are you going to enter the sword pavilion again?" Qi Changjai nodded cautiously, "The stronger we are, the better we can protect ourselves in the face of unknown enemies. I have no fear under Jindan, but Jindan cultivator is not so easy to deal with." Although Guyao was a little reluctant, he couldn't hold back Qi Changjai's footsteps. Originally, he still wanted to improve his cultivation and alchemy skills as soon as possible, so that he could refine the top grade or even top grade Tianyuan Dan, and help Qi Changjai to condense the golden pill. There is only the low grade Tianyuan pill. After thinking about it, I took out the blood glazed fruit. Brother Ye, take this fruit with you. If there is an emergency, don't force yourself, wait for me to form the pill, there must be a top quality Tianyuan pill to use. Guyao pretended to be optimistic. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 167. For Ngaio's heart, Qi Changjai left the blood glass fruit. Dean Yu's worries were not without purpose. The Seven-Star Sect and Wanling Pavilion were killed on the way back to the section in the end, only a few cultivators escaped and called for help from the nearby cultivating forces. The mainland was in an uproar. Who robbed and killed the monks of the Seven-Star Sect on the way? Is it for Tianyuan Dan? Is the Tianyuan pill still in the hands of the Seven-Star Sect? If other forces that got Tianyuan Dan would suffer the same fate, wouldn't Tianyuan Dan become a hot potato at this moment, and whoever held it would be unlucky? Soon, the elders who stayed in the Seven Stars sect and presided over the sect affairs released words and activated the great formation of protecting the section after the sect was closed for 10 years. No disciples were allowed to enter the great formation, but the sect master of the Seven Stars sect and the Wanling Pavilion left the Tianfu Academy. The big steward has since disappeared. The people who were robbed and killed that day did not have the suzerain himself, and apparently left secretly from other channels, avoiding everyone's attention. It's just that the main sect of the Seven Star sect is blocked, and it is difficult for outsiders to break in. Other sites outside the sect have been repeatedly attacked by unknown forces. Some voluntarily surrendered, some fought desperately, or gave up the original site and moved to other places. The place, waiting for the day when the sect master returns. As long as the sect master can successfully form a pill, then everything he has suffered today will be rewarded. The master of Tianheim stayed in Tianfu College and did not leave, and asked the elders around him, "How is the North Star sect? It seems that Kingshuman is the most convenient. It is the closest to Tianfu College. Even if something goes wrong, Tianfu College will immediately rescue him." Sect Master, according to the news that came back, the North Star sect is not very peaceful, and although Tianyuan Dan was safely brought back to their sect, the North Star sect couldn't agree on who should take the Tianyuan Dan. Endless, there is no outsider's intervention, the old man can't believe it. Sect Master, it's not good. A disciple of Tianheim rushed in a panic. There is news from the door that the tide of sea beasts that has subsided is showing signs of recovery. Sect Master, what should I do now? The sect master of Tianheim smashed the teacup in his hand and said, "Damn it." The sect master knew that they would not see a cultivator of forming pills appear in this section. The beast hordes were indeed controlled by humans, and there are so many sections. Higu, the disciple who died in the beast swarm. Sect master, seeing the aura on the sect master rioting, the elder was shocked. "Sect master, don't be chaotic at this time." "Then how should we deal with this crisis?" the sect master asked the elder. The elder said, "Why don't we ask Dinu and Lord Hugu for help? Maybe they have a good plan." Never mind, Tianheim sect master was frustrated. Instead of letting Tianheim go up and down and die in an unclear manner, it is better to rely on Tianfu College and Qian Valley. At least their personalities are still trustworthy. Hugu originally planned to leave for Yiqian Valley, but the disturbance from the outside world made him unable to rest assured of the safety of the valley. He had to rush back to sit in town. At this time, he heard that the Tianheim sect lord asked for advice, and he hurriedly called someone to come in to hear the intention of the sect lord. Afterwards, Gugu sighed and said, "It's not a solution for the sect master to be hesitant now, it's just that the sect master is reluctant to give up." "How do you say?" The Tianheim sect master gave birth to hope. "It's better to hand over the Tianyuan pill to Dinu for safekeeping, and retrieve it later when needed." "Tianyuan pill is superfluous to Dinu," Huguzu suggested. "Then why, Lord Hugu, you?" Compared with President Yu, who was not showing off the mountains and dew before, it is obvious that Lord Hugu is more trustworthy. Huguzu sighed, "Nowadays, there is a lot of trouble, and who does not know how long he can live? This matter started because of Tianyuan pill. What will happen to who thought that the sect master could refine Tianyuan pill?" The sect master of Tianheim groaned in his heart, "Wouldn't this destroy the hope and future of the entire Tianlin continent? The man behind it is too vicious." "Then Hugu still insists on Yankui Yangu," the door owner worried. "Just like the sect master had to go back to Tianheim, so also someone had to go back." The Tianheim sect master immediately understood that it would not be whether Huguzu himself would be willing to return, but the people behind him would force Huguzu to return, and the methods were too vicious and vicious. The master of Tianheim finally listened to the suggestion of Master Hugu, and entrusted the Tianyuan pill, which was finally photographed, to President Yu for safekeeping. He would retrieve it later. After the news was released, Tianheim and his party set off on their return journey, and Tianfirong sent them back. When he left his brother, he was very worried, and all kinds of news from outside made him worry. As soon as Tianfi Yang was sent away on the front foot, Tianfirong went to the square market on the back foot, and asked Lao Chi to follow Tianheim secretly. What people are good at is concealment. Tianfirong met Little Fatty on the way back. The two were in similar moods. Tianfirong's eldest brother had left, and Little Fatty's grandfather had also left. Their future was unknown, so how could they not be worried, but their strength was limited, and they could only do a disservice to keep up. "I thought that the foundation was established, and I could show off my skills, but now what use can a foundation building early stage be used for? Field. I have to go back and retreat. If I don't build a foundation, I won't go out. Anyway, Foundation building is much more useful than a chi cultivator, the little fat man said firmly. What about Guyao and Brother Chi? The little fat man replied, Brother Chi has also retreated, and Guyao has stayed in Jianfeng. Send me the sound transmission. If you want to retreat, go to Jianfeng. How about you? Of course I'll be with you, Tian Firong said as a matter of course, so the two went straight to Jianfeng. At this moment, it was Tianfu Academy, which also made them feel the turmoil. It was not as peaceful as outsiders thought. Tianfu College is under the watch of the Jindan cultivator, President Yu, and the bulls, ghosts, snakes and gods below dare not openly cause trouble. The two of them expected it well. After all, Dean Yu is in charge of 2 Tianyuan pills, and the one left by Tian Haiman has made several peak masters and elders eager to move, and the contact between them is much more frequent than in the past. Children Qi entered the Jianj. Dean Yu asked Elder Yi who was behind him. Although Elder Yi had been looking forward to Qi Changjai breaking into the sword pavilion, he couldn't help but worry when he entered and nodded and said, I went in, I can't hide it this time, but they all thought that Qi Changjai entered for the first time. What is the Dean intend? Dean Yu looked at the motionless fishing line, put the fishing rod aside, and looked at the rising clouds in the sky. Plan? You just need to keep the academy well. What those people want to do, they have to cross my line. The worry at this moment is that they are not us. Elder Yi didn't know what the dean was thinking, so let's talk about it. After a while, several peak masters will send messages. Come here, you don't need to look at him to know what the content is, it is nothing more than asking the ownership of the 2 Tianyuan Dan. In the past few days, the phenomenon of gang formation among high-level leaders in Tianfu Academy has become more and more serious. The purpose is to strengthen their own side. At that time, the most powerful Dean Yu will have to give in, otherwise Tianfu Academy's the work cannot be carried out either. At present, the loudest voices are from Wuifeng Cai Fengju, and Danfen's Lin Fengju, but no one responded to President Yu. He opened the messages one by one, and heard the old voices inside. Dean Yu smiled lightly, it seems that everyone is impatient, and Tianyuan Dan has made you guys restless, how can you form a pill in this state? It's better to be a young monk late in the night. Elder Yi moved in his heart and said, which of them is the dean worried about? The one with the surname Cai? Or the yin and yang strange Lord Lin Feng? Dean Yu cast his eyes on the lake again, and did not answer Elder Yi's question. What he thought was what Guyao told him after alchemy that day. He knew that Tianfu Academy could not be infiltrated, but when he knew that it was, I'm still a little disappointed when who made the move. No matter how strong a fortress is, it is often broken from the inside first. Elder Yi sighed in his heart, it seems that one or both of these two people did have a problem, which made Elder Yi angry and helpless. Guyao held the book in his hand and read it carefully. Although Jianfeng has added a lot of students, it is still very quiet compared to other peaks, so at this moment, the stars are twinkling, and there is silence all around. Turning another page, Su Chen in the space couldn't hold back, and asked, you can hold your breath, and you can see it, so you won't be afraid of others to make trouble. Missing trouble? Senior, did you mean to make trouble in the Jianj? If the Jianj was so easy to enter, it would not be Brother Yes' turn. Now the Jianj is the safest place. And it was just your and my suspicions that day. A bug, it cannot be confirmed that it is Lin Feng's active hand. On that day, not only did Su Chen realize it, but Qi Changjai also noticed the slight change in Peak Master Lin. When the alchemy was over and confirmed with Guyao, he suspected that he was on Peak Master Lin. Guyao didn't want to do this either. Once this matter was confirmed, it would be a big blow to Tianfu College, and it wasn't something he and Qi Changjai could solve, so he simply reported the matter to Dean Yu. The dignified Danfen has been infiltrated and even completely controlled by the other party. Guyao does not know how many people of the other party are lurking secretly on this continent. At present, one after another news from the outside world can be seen. The appearance of Tianyuan Dan has stirred the other party's nerves. The entire Tianlin continent was in shock. Meow. The cat cub wandering outside suddenly screamed sternly. Su Chen only felt a flower in front of his eyes. Guyao, this kid, flashed out quickly, and at the same time the scene in front of him changed quickly. Under the night sky, a man in black was fighting with a black cat, and the huge sword peak was quietly touched by the man in black, until he was found by the cat and screamed. At the same time, Elder Yi and other high-level officials who were sitting on the top of Ji Unfeng were also alerted. One by one, silhouettes swept out and rushed to Miao. The cat cub's small figure can't seem to compare with the man in black. The man in black stretched out his hand and patted the entanglement of the cat cub, and swept to the direction exposed by Guyao. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 168. Guyao, get out of the way. Court death. Meow. Unexpectedly, the thief came directly at Guyao, and Elder Yi, who arrived first, was stunned. It's too late to say it's too soon. Guyao is not a generation that can't be captured. Layers of defenses are superimposed in front of him. As an alchemist, he is rich, plus Ji change. I personally drew the amulet, so all kinds of defense methods follow. Don't throw money away. Bang bang bang. The man in black failed to break the tortoise shell, blocking Guyao with several blows, but a small figure behind him continued to expand, and black flames lingered all over his body, as if coming from hell. In a blink of an eye, the shadow shrouded the sky above the man in black. The man in black noticed that the air behind him seemed to be burning. He ignored Guyao in front of him and turned around to resist. He looked up to see the hideous face of the shadow, and he was immediately stunned. Take a breath. Sleeping fish. As soon as the title was called out, a paw of the ferocious beast was shot in the air, and the paw was wrapped in a mass of black fire, which seemed to burn even the soul. Do not. A clear sound like the cracking of glass was made in the dark night. Guyao saw a bracelet-shaped magic weapon cracking, and the man in black threw another magic weapon to resist, but the whole person slapped it out with one paw. Crushed an escape talisman in his hand, and then the person disappeared. Hoo ho ho, the ferocious beast was furious, and fled under its nose. This is. Elder Yi, who came over, looked at the beast in front of him in shock. If he hadn't seen the beast shoot the man in black out to save Guyao, he would have suspected that the beast was fighting with the man in black. The same idea. And he clearly heard the name called by the man in black, Black Nightmare Beast. Cub, change back. Guyao stretched out his hand and summoned. When the huge ferocious beast heard Guyao's voice, it first lowered its head unhappily and called to Guyao for two people, but then it shrunk obediently until it finally became that small group. Elder Yi Dingqing took a look. Isn't it the black cat following Guyao? After he figured out the true identity of the cat, he also gasped. Who would have thought that such a strange beast was hidden beside Guyao, and he was obviously still subdued by him? Understand. The cat cub jumped into Guyao's palm and stuck out his tongue, looking exhausted. Guyao hurriedly stuffed a pill into it, and took a few more spirit fruits. It consumes a lot and doesn't last long at all. Dean Yu only cast a glance, then turned to chase the man in black, and silently sneaked into the sword peak in the hinterland. Needless to say, this person must be lurking in the academy, and of course he will try his best to find him. Seeing that the dean went to chase the murderer, Elder Yi stayed, and asked the other people who were disturbed to go back, declaring that the matter should not be spread, and then came to Guyao. Guyao invited him into the room to talk again, and served tea. Elder Yi sat down and looked at the cat cub who was holding the spirit fruit and chewing happily. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that this was a ferocious beast that displayed his prestige before. Is this really a black nightmare beast? Gu Yao knew that he couldn't hide it, so he explained the origin of the black nightmare beast, and then Elder Yi knew. It was obtained from the ancestral land of the Shi family. Looking back now, it is indeed after visiting the ancestral land of the Shi family that this cat cub appeared beside Gu Yao, but who can think of it, that's why it attracted many masters to compete for it. The thing that fell into the stomach of this little thing. Elder Yi pointed at the cat cub, which caused the cub to show his sharp teeth at him. Gu Yao patted its head to make it calm down, and said, I don't know the specific facts, but it is presumed that something attracted him at the time. It broke its shell, disappeared for a while, and came back like this. Elder Yi sighed and smiled. It seems that it should be a chance for you and Chi Boy. Fortunately there is this little guy tonight, so that we can find the thief who sneaked in time, and fortunately there is it to hold back the thief, otherwise I don't know what the situation will be. Elder Yi couldn't help but look up at Chi Changjai again, listening to Gu Yao's meaning, but Chi Changjai sent the cat to Gu Yao at that time. Did Chi Changjai not guess the origin of the cat? Maybe it was because he guessed it, and Gu Yao, an alchemist, also had a more reliable security guarantee. Dean Yu came back and couldn't find any trace of the thief, but Gu Yao said, the man in black was slapped by the cat, and he must have left the mark of Heiminjian on his body. Although Heiminjian has not yet Dachan, it is not easy to eliminate it, and the Dean can start the investigation from this aspect. Dean Yu smiled and said, it seems that the cat has made a great contribution, and I will handle this matter, so don't be careless. Dean Yu stopped for a while and then left, not showing much curiosity about the cat cub. Gu Yao couldn't help but wonder if Dean Yu had doubts about the cat cub's identity before, but this time it was just confirmed. That's it? Elder Yi also left. This incident made him see that there were many omissions in the protection of Jianfeng, and they needed to be strengthened one by one. There were already protective formations and various warning formations on Jianfeng, and the other party didn't make a single alarm, so he obviously knew Jianfeng very well. Although Gu Yao was a little surprised, it didn't affect him much. He believed in the cat cubs, in Senior Su Chen, and in himself. Even if he was in front of the foundation building cultivators, he was not defenseless, and he could always drag Dean Yu and the others. When the rescue came, the other party underestimated him too much, thinking that when Qi Changfang entered the Jianj, he would have no defense against him. The cat's note was enough for him. This evening, Gu Yao could continue to read books and make alchemy. On the second day, Gu Yao walked on Jianfeng, and no one cast a strange color. It seems that Elder Yi blocked the news. Except for the few people who were disturbed at night, no one else knew it. This is also in line with Gu Yao's idea. I don't want to make it known to the world. However, Zhang Yan and Lu Qiuzheng were still aware of some rumors, and they sent messages to inquire about his situation. When they knew that he was all right, they told him to be more careful, and people should stay in Jianfeng. There was no need to come out. Despite what happened at night, Wei Jinzi also came when he was exchanging alchemy techniques with others in the daytime. At first he was not used to it. He used to regard Gu Yao as an enemy, but after a few times he brought Gu Yao as a confidant. Now he admires Gu Yao and admires his alchemy. Surgery. Wei Jinzi brought a few questions that he had accumulated, and Gu Yao answered them one by one, and then seemed to mention Danfan's peak master and senior brother unintentionally. Wei Jinzi shrugged, I don't know, I went to the eldest brother's place before I came, but the entourage on the eldest brother's side said that the eldest brother is going to retreat for a few days, and the master often sees no one, so he will call us if there is something. In the past, I had nothing to do with my own arrangements for cultivation. Gu Yao raised his eyebrows and did not continue the topic. In fact, the most suspicious person was Dan Peak's peak master Lin. He wondered if his eldest apprentice was with him. Wei Jinzi was a little annoying at first, but later it's good to have more contacts, but Gu Yao didn't refuse his contacts. On the other side, Dean Yu sent a message to the peak masters and the main high-level personnel to discuss the Tianyuan Dan. Please be sure to be present, otherwise it will be too late. Everyone gathered together, and Elder Yi was no exception. His focus was not on Tianyuan Dan, but on the people who came in. He was able to achieve that level last night, and his cultivation was either in the late stage of foundation establishment or Dachan, of course not. It is ruled out that someone has hidden the cultivation base and is lurking inside the academy. Cai Fengju was very excited. The dean finally had to deal with the Tianyuan pill in his hand. He should be able to get one of them. For the dignified peak master of Wuifeng, if the martial arts cultivation level falls behind other peaks, it will be a shame. So, during this period of time, Master Cai Feng has done a lot of work and made a lot of promises, but the most difficult one to deal with is Dan Peak's peak master Lin, who can make alchemy. The Lord also participated in the refining of Tianyuan Dan. Dean Yu came out and sat on the main seat. Are you all here? Are you all here? Huh? Why didn't Lord Lin show up? Would you like to send someone to see Danfen? I'm going to send a message to Lord Lin Feng. Maybe there is something urgent to delay, don't worry. However, all means were used, but still no Peak Lin appeared. The cultivator on his side was anxious. This man surnamed Lin actually fell off the chain at such a critical moment. In the end, Dan Feng sent someone to explain, saying yes, Lin Feng Lord temporarily retreated, and the information from outside could not be transmitted to the retreat. Lord Cai Feng raised his brows. Is he in retreat at this time? He doesn't believe it. No matter how important the retreat is, it's not as important as Tianyuan Dan. Tianyuan Dan is in the mood to retreat without results. Cai Fengju remembered what happened to Jian Feng last night. Although he kept his mouth shut, it was inevitable that some news would come out, so he guessed that Jian Feng was not at peace last night. This kind of uncertainty could only be because someone broke in. Then this person, who is it? Could it be related to Lord Lin Feng? So I didn't dare to show up today, for fear of revealing the stuffing? President, look at this. Dean Yu's heart sank, and he didn't want to suspect Lin Fengju, but once or twice, he pointed the finger at Lin Fengju, and it was difficult to believe his innocence. The Lord missed this opportunity, and there will be another one. Everyone knows that Dean Yu's decision will not change. The cultivator who stood on the side of Lord Lin scolded him like hell, and when he was in a hurry, he disappeared. Shut your ass. In the end, one of Tianyuan Dan was taken by Cai Feng, and the other went to Fang Wangru, who belonged to the punishment hall. Fang Wangru was very talented, and the years of cultivation were much shorter than other foundation building achievements. He took it, and the others, although people are very sad in their hearts, they can't object. Compared with other people, Fang Wang has a higher chance of becoming an elixir. In the secret room, after the ownership of Tianyuan Dan came out, the people inside spit out a mouthful of blood, annoyed him. Not only did he lose Tianyuan Dan, but he was also likely to be suspected by the old guy surnamed Yu. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 169. The man in black was gnashing his teeth in the secret room. His clothes were torn apart, and there was a black spot on his chest. The black spot was not scary. The scary thing was that there was a flame in the dark spot that was penetrating into the body, but he couldn't get it out. This is not a poison at all, and it is not something that can be solved by a detoxification pill. I should have known earlier that the unremarkable cat was actually a famous black nightmare. Last night, he would not try to test it anyway. The reason why he did it was because he believed that even if something went wrong, he would not being able to get out of the body and making people less suspicious of himself. He didn't expect to be planted in the hands of an inconspicuous little beast. Seeing the black nightmare beast, how can I not guess its origin? The actions against the Shi family in the beginning were all fulfilled by Guyao's bastard. The man in black regretted that when Guyao repeatedly slapped Danfeng in the face, he should have done so. To get rid of him secretly, I didn't expect that his disapproval at the beginning would lead to such a big bad result today. Chi-Ji spat out another mouthful of blood. Just when the man in black was trying to figure out how to cover up this incident, the restriction outside the secret room was suddenly triggered. Before he could figure out a way, someone forced his way in, and the man said with a gloomy face, "It really is you. Lin Mingguang. I didn't expect you to plant such a nail in my Tianfu Academy, and hide it so deeply. If it weren't for the change in the situation, I'm afraid it wouldn't be exposed in the end. The man in black is the peak master Lin of Danfeng. The clothes on his body are still the same as last night. The most striking thing is the wound on his chest, so no matter what excuse he finds, it is useless." He sneered, "Since it was discovered by your old man, then I will not deny it. Old man, those who are aware of current affairs should not expose this matter, otherwise it will be of no benefit to you and the entire Tianfu Academy. Those are not you. A force to contend with." But President Yu's reaction was beyond his expectations. Not only did President Yu not say much, but he stretched out his hand and grabbed him by the neck. At the same time, a spiritual energy struck Lin Mingguang's hand. Just when he came out, he wanted to activate it, but unexpectedly everything was under the control of President Yu. Lin Fengzhu wanted to call for help loudly to attract the attention of the disciples outside, and tried every means to escape, but he found that his entire body was covered with spiritual power, and his neck fell into the hands of President Yu. He tried his best to show weakness with his eyes, but Yu Yuan Changcheng was expressionless, and he twisted his neck with the force of his hand. Until his death, Lord Lin never thought that he would end up like this. He is also the peak master of Danfeng, and has a pivotal position in Tianfu Academy and even in the entire Tianlin continent. However, no matter how strong his strength is, as long as he does not break through the restrictions of foundation building, he will have no resistance in front of Jindan. Lin Mingguang couldn't rest his eyes when he died, but after his death, his soul could not be at peace, and was directly and brutally searched by President Yu. Only halfway through the search, Lin Mingguang's soul exploded with a bang, his soul flew away, and Dean Yu's face darkened. Unexpectedly, the other party placed a ban on Lin Mingguang's soul, just to guard against the soul search method. At the same time, Ling Qi, who was in seclusion in the eyes of outsiders in the training room, suddenly vomited blood, fell to the ground with convulsions all over his body, and died shortly after. There is only one possibility for him to have this outcome, that is, Lin Mingguang died, and he had no chance of surviving after being put under soul imprisonment by Lin Mingguang. A few days later, Dan Feng's disciples, including Wei Jinzi, found that the eldest brother still hadn't come out of the training room. He tried to call, but there was no response, but a younger brother rushed over in a panic, "No, no. Senior brother's soul card is broken." Wei Jinzi was so horrified that he asked someone to force his way into the training room, only to find Ling Qi lying on the ground, and told someone to notify the peak master and the others, but the peak master was nowhere to be seen, but other disciples and the higher UPS of the academy rushed over. Feng's eldest disciple died suddenly and silently in the training room. No matter how you looked at it, it was very strange. In case the enemy sneaked in, he could attack others if he could attack Ling Qi, so he was very nervous. It was only after inspection that it was concluded that Ling Qi's cause of death was a strong backlash of his soul, and he died in an instant, so he didn't even have time to call for help. "What about your peak master? His eldest apprentice has an accident, and he is nowhere to be seen. Wei Jinzi is very sad. After he came to Danfeng, the senior brother helped him a lot and taught him patiently, but now he died suddenly, and he couldn't accept it. He choked and said that Master has not been seen for several days, maybe he has retreated. Master, we couldn't break into the place of retreat, so we couldn't inform the Master of his old man's home. In the end, Dean Yu came forward and asked one of Danfan's elders to temporarily take over the mundane affairs of Danfan, and wait until when Lin Fengju leaves the customs, which means that this elder will temporarily act as the peak owner. As for when Lin Fengju will leave the customs, what Dean Yu didn't tell the others was that there would never be a time to exit. Even if someone forced their way into the secret room, it would be said that the room was empty, not even a corpse. He just thought that Lin Mingguang was missing. The disciple left the soul card, but Lin Mingguang, as the master of the first peak, did not hand over his soul card to Danfan. Perhaps he did not want people to infer his whereabouts through the soul card, which led to his whereabouts in Tianfu Academy. Inside has always been a mystery. President, Lord Lin Feng. Although Elder Yi was upright, but he also doubted the matter of that night, so he wouldn't think it was that simple. I got rid of him, and Ling Qi was put under soul imprisonment by him, so he died after being attacked. When this matter subsides, we will reorganize Danfan. Most of the students on Danfan are innocent. That's why Dean Yu decided to hide the matter of Lord Lin Feng, and there is no direct evidence to prove it on the surface. In order to avoid turmoil in Danfan, he kept it low-key. That bastard. Was he sent there early in the morning, or did he take refuge there later? Elder Yi cursed with gnashing teeth. Dean Yu frowned and said, I joined him later, but it was banned and hidden at critical times, so there was no way to search for the soul. Only some superficial things could be found, but the key things were unknown. Ling Qi is dead. Gu Yao was shocked to learn of this from someone else's mouth. What about Peak Master Lin? Lin Fengju is still in retreat. I don't know about this, otherwise I will be too sad to continue retreating. This is the news that one of Jian Feng's alchemists got from outside. Ling Qi's identity is no trivial matter, so he had an accident. The news spread throughout the Tianfu Academy in no time. No one was not surprised. I'm afraid that even Qin Xiumen now knows about it, and the impact is not small. Gu Yao was extremely surprised. Is he really still in retreat? Ling Qi's death itself is very suspicious, especially after listening to the description of Ling Qi's death. Su Chen sighed in the space. I didn't expect that the dean of your academy was very decisive, and the surnamed Lin must have been killed by him. When he heard the death of his eldest disciple, he knew that he died of soul arrest. The soul imprisoned person dies, and of course the person restrained by him will not end well either. Gu Yao's heart skipped a beat. So that's what happened. He said, how could he suddenly be attacked and die like a demon? Ling Qi was equivalent to Lin Mingguang's servant. When the master died, the servant who dedicated his soul naturally died along with him. However, Gu Yao's mood is still quite complicated. He has received many times with Ling Qi. Compared with Wei Jinzi, Ling Qi is more generous and easy to get along with. If it was forced, it would be a shame to die. Gu Yao hasn't seen Wei Jinzi for a long time. Presumably the death of his senior brother made him unacceptable for a while, and the atmosphere on Dan Peak was more depressed and gloomy. After such a big incident, the Peak Master did not show up, and Tianyu and Dan did not have a Dan. For Feng's sake, the eldest brother died too suddenly, as if unfortunate news came one after another. The little fat man was in retreat, and he didn't want to come out without building a foundation. Tian Firong settled in the training room for a few days and came out. He didn't expect such a big thing to happen outside. Feel weird. Compared to the people from Danfan, the other students sighed for a while at most. Now that there is chaos outside, it is difficult to focus on Danfan. There is news that Hu Guzu was attacked by unknown people on his way back. However, because Hu Guzu successfully formed pills, the enemy did not get much benefit from him. After Hu Guzu returned to Qian Valley, there was such a Jindan cultivator. Sitting in town, the factional battles in the valley and the turmoil among the various forces attached to Qian Valley were suppressed by him with a strong attitude. In the past, Huguzu had a very peaceful image both internally and externally. Perhaps because of his temperament, the phenomenon of Qian Valley's inner gang formation was very serious, and it was even so powerful that it could control the situation in Qian Valley. In the past, Huguzu always mediate these factions. The main thing is peace, but this time, after Hugu returned, he directly uprooted one of the factions, killed the elders headed, confiscated the property, and expelled the disciples who depended on him from the valley. The announced results also caused an uproar among the disciples in the valley. Those powerful elders and their lineages used their positions of power to embezzle a large number of resources in the valley. The monks who originally thought that Huguzu was too merciless, all clapped their hands and applauded, and tolerated it again. If those worms stay, Qian Valley will become a private force of their faction. After ruthlessly breaking a crooked wind, the atmosphere of Qian Valley has become much more clean. If the situation outside is not very good, many forces will go to Qian Valley at this moment. One is to congratulate him on his successful formation of pills, and the other is to congratulate him on his success. Qiu Dan, of course, before others left Tianfu Academy, the forces of all parties showed their sincerity. The return journey of Tianhaimen and his party was also not very peaceful. Even if they were prepared, they were still surrounded by layers of siege. In the end, the door owner only rushed out of the siege with a small number of people and joined the doormen who came to meet them. To be able to escape. It is said that when they fell into the encirclement, someone helped Tianhaimen from outside and helped them open a gap, otherwise Tianhaimen would be wiped out. When the news came back, Tianfirong was trembling with anger. Although his eldest brother was still alive, he was seriously injured. If he hadn't asked Lao Qi to follow him, the ending would be hard to say. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 170. One wave after another, the students of Tianfu Academy clashed violently with Qingxiumen when they were training in the Kyukiu Mountains, resulting in more than a dozen casualties on both sides, and the conflict continued to intensify. With the investment, the Kyukiu Mountains has become a battlefield for the two forces. More and more students are involved in this conflict. Of course, the senior management of the academy is not happy, but the situation has developed to this level. It is not the time to say withdrawal easily. Once withdrawn, the other party will only get if an inch is close to a foot, the casualties will be even greater, and the academy will pay a greater price. The senior management of the academy gathered at the dean's office, disregarding the high-level attitude, and some cultivators directly scolded, "These bastards, without the help of our Tianfu Academy, can Qingxiumen lay a foundation here? These ungrateful bastards. Son." The grievances between Tianfu Academy and Qingxiumen have a long history. No one has exposed them. Others would never have imagined that there would be such a development in the first place. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that Qingxiumen is provoking and causing trouble for no reason. It was also caused by Qingxiumen behind the scenes, and of course there were people on his side who secretly contributed to the flames. President Yu sat on the main seat with a sullen face. Master Cai Feng and Elder Fang entered the secret retreat. Only one of you can successfully form the pill. The situation in Tianfu Academy can be settled immediately, no matter what the master of Qingxiumen is. I won't be happy with my intentions, as for now, and I am an immortal, it's not yet time for the official war. But Qingxiumen also got a Tianyuan Dan, I'm afraid they. Someone worried. But Qingxiumen don't need to worry too much. What they are worried about is the back of Qingxiumen. Qingxiumen is so resolute, and it is not because of the strength behind it. Now, in addition to hoping that Cai Fengju and Elder Fang will successfully form the pill, many people will also looking at Jian Feng. I wonder if Qi Changjai, who entered the Jianj, can rely on the Jianj to advance to Jindan like the Dean. As long as Tianfu College adds 2 more golden cores, it can be said that it can walk sideways on Tianlin continent. Others and the forces hidden in the Tianlin continent also knew about this situation, so they would take this opportunity to spare no effort to attack Tianfu Academy, and if it disturbed the mood of Cai Fengju and others, they would be more willing to prejudice. Dean Yu stroked his beard and said, "So soldiers will come to block it, and water will come to cover it. You should guard the academy so that no one can take the opportunity to enter the academy and cause chaos. If there are things outside, if I am here, they will never succeed." "Yes, Dean." Not long after that, news came that a thunder tribulation had descended on a remote island. It was suspected that a cultivator had crossed the calamity here, but the one who had crossed the tribulation was Jindan. "Isn't it the cultivator who obtained Tianyuan Dan from Tianfu College before?" Just when the various forces in the mainland wanted to find this person, Qingxiumen suddenly let out a voice. "Qingxiumen Hungmen has successfully formed a pill a few days ago, and will return to the door soon," and Qingxiumen also claimed that Tianfu Academy is bullying others. The door Many of the disciples were killed by Tianfu Academy's poisonous hands, so Qingxiumen and Tianfu Academy swear by it. It's fine if you stand on the sidelines. If you stand on the side of Tianfu Academy, you will be against Qingxiumen. The world is in an uproar. Qingxiumen put on an ungrateful face, and even slapped the scene of provocation and provocation. Tianfu Academy also has a Jindan cultivator, and it has been for many years, but it is far from being arrogant like Qingxiumen. Qingxiumen really has such a big face, can't he want to cover the sky with one hand on the mainland? Unexpectedly, after Qingxiumen's statement came out, many forces on the mainland had the stance of rising up, and they responded to Qingxiumen one after another, as if Tianfu Academy were bullies who were bullied by power and they were bullied bitter masters, one after another. He denounced Tianfu Academy, and listed dozens of crimes against Tianfu Academy, and it was very likely that Tianfu Academy would get out of the Tianlin continent. If you can't see that this is premeditated, it's simply insulting people's IQ. Gu Yao never left Jianfeng again. Many formation restrictions and traps that were previously closed have also been activated on Jianfeng. It is safer to stay on Jianfeng, but he did not expect the development outside to completely deviate from the normal rhythm. Suddenly there was a trend out of control. Of course, this loss of control is for them, but for Qingxiumen and the forces outside Qingxiumen who are responding to Qingxiumen, it should be the result of their long-term planning. For President Yu and Gu Yao, they never expected it was Tianfu Academy's neighbor Qingxiumen, who was actually a chess piece that had been inserted in the Tianlin continent long ago. Needless to say, its intention was also known to deliberately target Tianfu Academy. Elder Yi frowned, and this incident caught Tianfu Academy and Dean Yu by surprise. Originally, Dean Yu was already discussing with Lord Hugu, and he wanted to integrate the forces of the Tianlin continent and form a temporary self-cultivation alliance to fight against the forces in the dark. People, Huguzu is also willing to come forward and contribute to the great cultivation cause of Tianlin continent. I don't know if the news has been leaked, or if Qingxiumen's master surnamed Hong has already prepared for this. The cultivation alliance was stillborn before it was released. Elder Yi did not hide the series of events that happened before. Now even if Lord Hugu stood up and said that he wanted to form a self-cultivation alliance, he would immediately become the target of public criticism. First, he was suppressed by a group of forces headed by Qingxiumen, so President Yu had to interrupt this process. A plan. This group of tortoise bastards, just for their own selfish desires, will drag the entire Tianlin continent into the water. If they succeed, the level of cultivation in the Tianlin continent will be regressed a lot. Elder Yi gritted his teeth with hatred, but he did not expect Qingxiumen. Hidden so deeply, he jumped out and bit them at the critical moment, especially the Tianyuan Dan who helped the breakthrough surnamed Hong was shot from Tianfu Academy. Hateful. Of course, Elder Yi and Gu Yao both know that the Hong sect master breaks through the golden pill at the moment, and Tianyuan pill is one of the assistances, but it will not be all help. I am afraid that I have prepared secretly and waited for this moment. It's just the icing on the cake. Gu Yao also heard it, just one step behind. He is completely passive. If he doesn't want to break through the situation, Gu Yao is worried that Qin Xiumen will lead people to besiege Tianfu Academy. Cai Fengju, who is ready to break through, or Qi Changjai in the Sword Pavilion, will all be affected. He is also a member of Tianfu Academy, and has the responsibility to share the same fate with Tianfu Academy, so he cannot sit back and watch this result. Although I thought Tianfu Academy had a bad reputation at first, after staying here for all these years, I have developed a lot of affection for the academy. The environment here is not that bad, but it is much more enlightened than other sects, and students can develop freely. Guyeok raised his fingers and tapped his chin. The cultivation alliance failed, so how about changing the form? What is needed now is a project that links forces like Qian Valley Tianhaimen into a single rope. The external form is not the most important thing, so as not to give the secret forces a chance to defeat them. Suddenly, Gu Yao's heart lit up. He remembered an organization that existed in the Interstellar Alliance but disappeared here, and he also had this idea at the beginning, but his strength has always been very weak, and no one can understand his voice. Respond, but is the time right now? Elder Yi, I have an idea, I don't know if it will work. Oh, you said Elder Yi didn't care much. He was so worried that he lost a lot of eyebrows and beards, and he didn't think Gu Yao would say how effective it was. Gu Yao also knew that it would be difficult to handle affairs without any hair on his lips, but this was not the reason for him to hide behind and ignore it. He said, the Cultivation Alliance can't go on, but if the Alchemist Guild was initiated by Huguzu Alchemy Guild, Elder Yi didn't have such a concept in his mind, so he was confused. Gu Yao explained to Elder Yi what kind of organization this so-called Alchemist Guild is. There is a Pharmacist Guild in the Interstellar Alliance. It was originally formed to protect the interests of pharmacists. The guild has made undeniable achievements in striving for the interests of pharmacists and promoting pharmacy and training pharmacists. On the one hand, the Alchemist Guild unites the power of alchemists in the entire continent to improve the status of alchemists, and on the other hand, it is committed to improving the alchemy skills of all alchemists, cultivating more alchemists, and avoiding the phenomenon of self-esteem among alchemists. Gu Yao spent a lot of saliva, but Elder Yi was born with a lack of brains in this area. He heard it in a fog. In the end, he stopped listening and sent a message to President Yu directly. Is it feasible to hear it? Although he didn't understand whether such a guild could play a role, he could hear that if such a guild could really be established, it would definitely benefit the entire continent's alchemy world. Why do everyone yearn for Qian Valley and Danfan? Because there they can learn more advanced alchemy techniques. Whether it is alchemy or alchemy, they are not available everywhere. The Alchemist Guild seems to want to promote these precious alchemy formulas to all cultivators who are devoted to alchemy, so that more people can benefit. It is conceivable that more alchemists will emerge on the mainland. The threshold for learning alchemy will not become so high. What do you want to do? Su Chen kept silent in the space. When Yi Chang went to send a message to President Yu, he only said, "Are you really willing to promote those collections?" Gu Yao lowered his eyes. "Senior, do not agree." "Do I approve or not?" Su Chen exclaimed. "The current owner of the Pill Pavilion is not me, but you. If I say you don't agree, you won't continue." Gu Yao laughed. "My ideal is to build an elixir pavilion on Tianlin continent. Of course, I will set up many tests to test elixir skills, and also test the mind of the monks who enter the pavilion. Only qualified people can access higher collections. But knowing that it is not realistic now, Brother Ye and I are not strong enough to set up such a pill pavilion." Until President Yu arrived, Su Chen didn't make a sound to express his opinion, and Gu Yao couldn't care about him for the time being.